What does Arya say as the wolf leaves?
That's not you.
That's not you.
What is that supposed to mean?
Katie,
Did you drop
that's
off
what I
the
just
call?
said.
Oh, I'm
About
so
it.
sorry. I was looking at porn. So keep going. What is
Wait.
No.
Whoa. You don't
You can't
get to
just
walk
gloss
away
over
from
that. Did it involve Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh. Hey everybody, welcome back to Vassals of Kingsgrave. We're here for Season 7, Episode 2 of Game of Thrones. This episode was called The Stormborn. Yeah, a lot happened in this episode, I think. I don't really know, I'm a little excited, a little scared, I don't know how to feel. So there's a lot of us here today, and I know some of you don't like that, that's okay. But, so let's get started. My name is Adam. I'm also known as drownedsnow on the podcast of Ice and Fire forums. For those of you who are not familiar, you can Google it, because Google's your friend. All right, let's start with our episode reviews here. I'm going to start by introducing Matt Varley. How did you like this episode?
I think I'd give it like a 3.75 lemon cakes. It was a good episode if you were a eunuch, and a really bad episode if you were a Dornish female. And other thing, I mean, we got hot pie again, so it can't be bad.
The baker that was promised, indeed. Other Matt?
Blue armor on the forums. It was my least favorite episode since like the wedding between Sansa and Ramsay. There was good, yeah. It's just for the military strategy point of view. Like
we're gonna get to that.
I can't stand that stuff. But the stuff with Arya and in the north, and like the discussions in Dragonstone with like Varys were good. But everything else, I was just yelling at the screen.
Well, sounds like you enjoyed it. Amber?
Hello, this is Amber. Amberrocks on the forums. I gave it a 4 lemon cakes because I don't know nothing about no military strategy, and it was very exciting for me. Yay!
Well, alrighty then. Paul?
Oh shoot, I took a bite of taco. I gotta agree with Amber. It was a solid 4 for me. As always, I have a few nitpicks, but overall, pretty solid episode.
Excellent. Alexi?
Sorry, Alexi here. I gave it a 3.5. I thought it's so different from the books now that you can just watch it as its own thing, and I don't know, some dumb stuff, but overall pretty good. Especially some of the more less overreaching scenes and some of the smaller scenes where I thought were a little better.
Yeah. It was good, especially when you don't think about maps. Casey?
Yes, this is Casey, Blue-Eyed Queen on the forums, and I spent an hour explaining Game of Thrones maps to my 3 friends at work who don't know anything about the books. So, otherwise, I'd give this, I kind of wish I could go back and give the first episode a 5, because I think I'm going to give this a 4.
Yeah, you do.
But I enjoyed it. I actually thought, even though like the logistics of the battle scene were a bit odd, the battle scene itself was kind of epic. So I mostly enjoyed it. So yeah.
That's a good point. And they have a featurette on HBO, like behind the scenes, like how they made the battle. It's actually, it's very well done. Hannah?
It's shaowbaby on the forums. I don't know. I kind of almost don't care enough about it to be angry with it or to really like it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, arbitrary rating systems are kind of, last.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Anyway, so.
It definitely wasn't my favorite episode. There's like a bunch of shit I'm just overseeing with the show, although it is so different from the books that who cares anyway. So I guess, I don't know, 2, maybe.
All right, Dana?
Taindana on the forums. I gave it a 3 because dazzling me with a Navy battle at the very end does not wipe the taste of just, Grey Worm Missandei. Ugh, out of my mouth.
Oh, where's Katie?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was rough. Bing.
Hey, Showshiner on the forums. 3.575, something like in between. It's not bad. But I mean, even though Yara is hashtag not my Asha, still didn't like the way she goes, especially since they're sacrificing even more female characters to cover for Theon.
That is a good point. And I just kind of a side note, after the episode, they had this thing where the first thing they cut to was like, hey, did you see Dragonstone, where there was 4 really powerful women standing around being awesome women, hashtag feminism. I was like, oh, you guys are okay. Yeah, you don't pay attention to the criticism except for when it comes to things like that. Anyway, so let's see. I'd probably give this a solid 3.5. There were a couple of really big problems I had, but the action was great. You know, we're moving forward. There's a lot going on. Like I didn't hate the episode. I just hated a few of the things that, like, you open a show where you show us a map at the beginning of the goddamn show every time, and then you ignore the map. And you know what? We're not going to get into that. We're going to get into that later. Let's just say that the the average forum score was a 3.86. So I think the lowest score on there was a 3. So generally, I mean, people seem to have enjoyed this episode. And from what I've seen kind of online, I don't know, it's a bit mixed, but a lot of people are, saying they like this better than the premiere, and the premiere was boring. And I thought the premiere was awesome, but well, what can I say? All right, so we open up with Dany and Dragonstone, where we left off last week after her kind of silent taking up residence in Dragonstone, and we jump right in to a really weird scene. I mean, like, a lot of this was great. We get Dany at Dragonstone. And they're talking about, what they're going to do going forward. And then all of a sudden she's like, hey, Varys, you've been with me for at least 6 months now. Let's have the conversation about how you worked for Robert. Now, I don't really understand the timing of that. But then, he makes the point that I choose you, Dany.
Did anyone else yell Pikachu?
I did.
Yay.
He also said Khal Drogo. I swear, I listened to it like 3 times.
I think he did too.
Yeah, Khal Drogo, Westeros attorney, and So then we get some more interesting dialogue, and Sandra shows up, and Missandei's like, "Whoa, that's a non-gendered word, so it could be prince or princess," and we're like, "What?" So she drops that bit of knowledge. Tyrion learns for the first time that Jon, I don't know if he knew, I think he knew he was Lord Commander, but he's learned that he's become king and is kind of shocked by all that. And it's like, well, Jon's a cool dude. Let's write him a letter. So what did you guys think of this scene?
Didn't the guy that invented the language Valerian for the show say that, like, it's not, they basically went against their own show canon, right? When Missandei says that, or
I thought he said the opposite.
Maybe. I'm trying to remember, because like he was at like the convention last month, and he actually did cover that a bit, and I don't remember what he said.
All right, well,
I didn't think it's significant for the show at the time.
Yeah. And regarding your Varys thing, I just assume that conversation happened off camera, and them bringing it up on camera now makes it kind of pretty super awkward.
Well, I mean, it's okay if they brought it up as like, hey, remember when you like kind of like a callback, but this is like, oh, we're having this conversation now. Are you Varys? Nice to meet you. Like, yeah, it was awkward writing. It's like they planned this for last season. They wrote this scene and then they just grafted it in here.
I kind of took it as like, okay, he kind of played his part, so she could take him or leave him now. Like, she's there, so it's time to decide whether or not he's of use anymore.
So you think she just kind of kept quiet because he was useful, and it's like now is the reckoning? She was just being patient.
Sure, strategy.
Well, and there was somebody else on the throne when he came over to her to begin with. So I kind of changed her take on it.
Not really, though. They're all in the same family.
Right.
But I mean, still different dynamics. if he thinks Cersei's a stronger horse than Tommen.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think the reason
Danny
behind
doesn't
it is
fucking know
more.
him.
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason might be more like, it wasn't Varys. Am I remembering this correctly? Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, wasn't Varys with in Dorne setting this up? Or
Yes.
am I thinking of somebody else?
Yes,
Yeah.
it happened so quickly at the end of last season. Like, people talk about the transporting, yada, yada. I mean, obviously this probably took weeks and months, but in the show, it was like scene.
Yeah.
He goes to Dorne, they get a fleet, yada, yada, yada.
But my point is more like she sends him to go get more armies. He's successful. And then after that, she's like, well, now great, I have these armies and these people can trust me, but I want to make sure that you trust me. That's like the only reason I can like, make sense of this. It's still like, a very big stretch though.
Yeah. And let's see, we are joined now by Katie.
Hi, this is Katie, LadyGriffin on the forums. I'll give it a 5 because why not?
Yes.
I'm having fun with this season. I was entertained when for the last 2 seasons, I feel like I've been exasperated. So yeah, I'll give it a 5.
How to stop worrying and learn to love Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot, and I mean, I'm kind of halfway there on a lot of this stuff, but some things are just too confusing. But what did you think about Dany having this conversation with Varys? Did it feel like a little late?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the timeline, I don't know why she wouldn't have this conversation with him weeks earlier before they left Meereen, unless she didn't meet him until they got on the boat. But for the sake of, I don't know, like I don't even want to complain about it because who cares? It was a good conversation, and it actually made sense with the fact that for her to bring up that his loyalties are congested and tangled in his past relationships with different kings. So I don't really care so much about if it makes sense anymore geographically or in time and space, so long as the character motivations actually line up and jive like neat little tumblers in a keyhole. So yeah, I mean, I don't care if it doesn't make sense that Dany wouldn't have this conversation with him earlier than this.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I saw like several comments, on last week's episode across the internet where people that were like, well, why, hey, by the way, why is she, not giving Varys shit for serving, Robert? So, I mean, that part of it definitely makes sense.
It could just be that she saw an opportunity to call him out in front of other people.
And so we get the end of this is her inviting Jon to come bend the knee at Dragonstone. Do we think that maybe, I mean, because it's like people talk about how she said she was going to break the wheels, so there will be no lords or whatever. Like, I think she just planned to kill off a bunch of the lords she doesn't like, personally. But, I don't know. What do you make of that? Like, she's kind of business as usual here, sort of.
She went about it the wrong way. I mean, she's just gone about it exactly the same way as Cersei. But it will be interesting to see if by the time Jon gets there, she's like, oh, no, just joshing you. Just, you got here. Let's have a conversation. I don't really care if you bend the knee. Let's get this White Walker problem down, compared to Cersei, who was like, oh, you didn't bend the knee. Let's kill you now. It will be interesting to see which way it goes, because Jon won't bend the knee because there's no fucking point.
And then he would because there's no point. I don't know.
And then they can have an awkward conversation over tea. Did anyone watching Show Varys is somewhat interesting, as he's so simple. Like he only cares about the country of Westeros instead of a kingdom, but he's just the most, like, he's completely simplified. There's no like ulterior motives, or like they say, I'm not from royalty. Some people think he in the books, he possibly could be, or Illyrio. It's like Varys is just like the greatest dude of all time. He just wants everything for the best for everybody. It's kind of, I don't know. It's good acting, and it's a good character to aspire to, but it's just, I find it a little simplistic and kind of boring.
I think that was Varys just like blowing smoke up Dany's ass because he is a more complicated character, but I could be adding shit in just because I like that element to his personality to be always kind of playing this game. So I could be completely wrong. Hopefully it was just exposition for him to, razzle dazzle her.
Yeah, but is it that unbelievable? Because he basically says as much in at the end of A Dance with Dragons, like when he confesses like what his real motivations are.
No, I just don't think it's like that simplistic. I don't think it can be boiled down to just 2 sentences. and that's what drives him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's hard to say. Like the showrunners have always done a good job of leaving themselves options with characters, even when, and like changing their directions, even when sometimes that doesn't make sense. But I don't know. I don't know where they're going. I think they've kind of left it. Like right now, they seem to just be playing it straight. Like Varys is for the realm. Okay.
Why doesn't Dany get the gendered nouns? Is it? Yeah, gendered nouns in High Valyrian. Isn't it her mother tongue? Wouldn't she know that? Ugh. Exposition. Ugh.
Well, I mean, maybe it's a really complex language, and they don't have a lot of non-gendered nouns. I don't know.
Honestly,
I don't know enough about languages.
Maybe she knows the language, but just not specific grammar bits.
Honestly, I thought that whole thing was just an advertisement for Duolingo.
There's like a pop-up at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah. You can now learn High Valyrian with Duolingo. You can understand what they're talking about.
It's your second screen experience. Yeah.
I did feel kind of cringy because like we have this whole scene with like Aemon earlier on in the books going, "Oh, it's not gendered," and it feels like it has a much more weight. But in this one, Missandei's like, "Fun fact, Prince in Valyrian doesn't have a gender. Just to let you know." I'm like, thanks, helpful Missandei.
And you can definitely tell that the showrunners were just like, well, the translator needs to be the one that brings up the language nuance, right? And like that was kind of as far as they thought, I think. But let's move on to the next scene here. We can kind of come back to Dragonstone here a little bit later, and it just sort of immediately follows. Like we don't waste any time. Tyrion's like, I'm gonna write a letter, and in the next scene, Jon's like, I got a letter. So I mean, I love that, man. I love not wasting time. So yeah, it's this is pretty simple. Up in Winterfell, he gets a letter. They both kind of are like, well, Tyrion's not like the other Lannisters. He's kind of a cool dude, maybe. What do we do?
And Sansa's now queen. Like, I don't understand what the fuck just happened. Like, I don't know. The scene kind of pissed me off. I was like, what is going on?
Let's work through this, Varley. What about this scene pissed you off?
I don't get why half the Northmen were grumbling. Because, I mean, they know she has dragons, right? And the North had bent the knee to dragons before. Like, that's the whole point of the whole King of the North. It's like, we swore our allegiance to the Targaryens, and now they're gone. And so, I mean, what the ever-living fuck? It's a Targaryen with dragons. Why are they like, oh, no, you can't bend the knee, blah, blah, blah. I just don't understand.
Yeah, that's a different
That's
scene,
the later scene. That's later. This is just them getting the letter. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have
we'll
nothing
get to that
wrong
range.
with the letter.
Yeah, this is just
Wait a minute, let me
private,
fix my
they get the
table.
letter. They get the letter, and Jon's kind of like, oh, Tyrion, and he mentions, he says all bastard or all dwarves are bastards in the eyes of their father, and that's how he knows it's Tyrion. It's just, I mean, it's a very straightforward scene.
What I really liked about this scene is the way it was shot was very similar to like season 1, episode 1, where Bran's practicing his archery, and that pans up to Eddard and Kat looking over the kids at the archery range. But this time it's the kids learning the bow. Aww. And then we pan up and it's Jon and Kat in Ned and Jon and Sansa in Ned and Kat's places. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a neat little callback. They're kind of taking on their parents' responsibilities.
They're doing a lot of visual callbacks this season. I mean, like, I think the last couple seasons they have, but especially with the Winterfell stuff and the Stark stuff. We'll talk more about that a little later, but they're doing a lot of these little visual callbacks to kind of remind you, like, hey, people have sort of taken the place of their parents, and it's kind of sad.
Did anyone see if the letter, or because it didn't seem like the letter said you have to bend the knee, while Daenerys ordered at the end of the last scene, but it didn't seem to arrive. Maybe Tyrion didn't type it or something.
I noticed that at least the way they read it, it did seem like Tyrion was maybe a little more political. It was like, hey, come chat. It didn't seem to say that, like, you got to come here and swear loyalty to the queen.
So John's just gonna show up and be like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! I didn't sign up for this. I didn't know this was going on."
And Daenerys is going to be like, "Fire is the champion of House Targaryen." Ha ha ha. So yeah.
Does everyone
Anyway.
notice how every single maester in the fucking Seven Kingdoms has the exact same handwriting?
Yeah, but every librarian had the same handwriting from like the 1930s through the 1980s.
They teach
That's
it the
racist.
same way.
Secretary hand. No, they did. For all the cards look the same.
Oh,
Anyway.
really? That's like they practiced it so that it would all
Yeah,
look the same?
it was like a librarian hand. Like all teachers writing for a very long period looked the same.
I
because you had
did
to,
not know
when
that.
you
I
went
thought
to
you were
school.
joking.
No, it's yeah, or the card thingy before computer databases to find
Right, yeah, yeah,
books. Yeah, it's
The
so
Dewey
everyone-
Decimal System.
I'm a big fan of Dewey and his system.
But is that just Australian
Really,
library?
because he breaks up American authors and like every other author. It's really quite weird. That's why, yeah, the American Congress system's a bit better. Anyway, sidetrack. Don't need to talk about the way that books are done. But it makes sense that maesters would have their own handwriting
Where is
style
Greg?
that all looks the same.
Greg has atrocious handwriting.
Greg has many chains in his bookstore, and we will get to the chains. Yeah, so let's move on, because that's, we're gonna come back to that letter here in a little bit, and we're gonna move on to King's Landing, which this scene just, I don't know, it kind of pissed me off. So we get the Cersei, and she's got the nobles of Highgarden who she's trying to convince with her propaganda about Unsullied and Dothraki, and I mean, that's pretty smart on her part. But then Randall Tarley's there, and he doesn't seem to give any fucks about that sword of his that's missing, because he's in King's Landing. So I don't know what the hell's going on. He comes and clearly has no intention of supporting Cersei, and then Jaime kind of pulls him aside. It's very weird that he's even there. I really don't understand why he's there. I guess maybe to see what the plan is with this army of Dothraki, because he's definitely not going to take to that.
It's
I know,
called
it's very weird.
contractual obligations.
It's very weird. We've got a new actor for Dickon, and I do like. What is it? Jaime said. He's like, "What's your name, Rickon?" Oh, yeah, Dickon. Right. Let's just so no one forgets, Dickon. Anyway, so what did you guys think?
I have this the reason I put down my rating this episode was not really because of the later scenes. It's actually a lot because of this scene, because I don't like how the show is putting definitively bad people, or like, the evil people, or like less liked people, against those that are like quote unquote good, like making them antagonists versus protagonists. I don't like because it all started off with like everybody being in some sort of gray area.
Umbers, Boltons.
But I don't know.
So, I mean, like, what is he even doing in King's Landing? Hashtag, like, not Varley's Tarley. Like, he was super loyal.
Seriously.
I know.
Nice one.
Thank you. He was, like, super loyal to, Highgarden. Like, what the fuck is he doing? Not, like, in Dany's Armada army.
Yeah, I kind of would have thought that maybe they could have, explained away the whole thing where he doesn't have time to look for his sword because he's on a boat, with the Queen of Thorns.
Right. He got
He
summoned
doesn't
by
use that shit.
But
He had it in a rack on his mantle. He does
Right,
not
but he
carry
would-
that motherfucker around.
he would recognize that it's gone.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
But I do. Okay, but I do understand. I don't know. It's just it's a little weird to me because you know that he's not gonna. He's so racist towards like wildlings, and he's never even been to the north. He's just like, these savages. So certainly like Dothraki and Unsullied are like demons to him. But I don't know. He's talking about all this Tyrell loyalty, and what.
But
what
that's
did,
his whole problem.
Yeah.
He's a traditionalist, and he was summoned by the crown. And it's like, yeah, he's loyal to the Tyrells, but he seems like the kind of guy who has such a stick up his ass that he's like, well, I have to follow the rules to a T, so I'll serve
Damn
my
it,
royal.
Stannis.
Yeah, I'll serve my royal summons, and then I'll go home and decide what's best for the family.
He's like even more bigoted Stannis. Is that what we're going with?
Well, I mean, in the books, we don't really get Randall Tully's character other than he's very strict about traditions and stuff like that, right?
He's washing
And threatens to kill
prostitutes'
Sam.
vaginas out with lye soap.
Yeah, he tells Brienne that he hopes she gets raped.
Tradition.
Yeah, right.
Traditions.
Yes. Yeah, that. We don't like him at all, so I guess it doesn't really matter what he does because he's probably not going to live long.
What is he doing now in the books?
Hanging out in the capital.
Maiden pool, isn't he? Oh wait, no, he's in the capital.
He's in the capital
with Marjorie.
Yeah, he just
Yeah,
talked
he
to,
was he was
Kevin.
called up.
That's right. He led an army down to the capital. You see, that's the kind of fucking Tyrell loyalty that I'm talking about. You know,
In the books, the Tyrells are still in quite a strong position.
Oh yeah, you mean they didn't all get wiped out because there's more than 2?
And their army hasn't seen that much combat. So.
Hashtag Willis lives.
Did it make sense that there were only like 3 dudes in the throne room? Yeah, I mean, who's left?
Crownlands.
And can they get some damn chairs? I mean, come on.
I was hoping to see Bronn. I know he can't be in scenes with Cersei because the actors hate each other. But I was hoping there to be like Lord Bronn, you know, and like that's what they're down to. But
They hate each other?
that. Like, well, the two. I guess they dated. They dated or something.
They used
the
to
actors.
date.
And the what it says online or whatever is that like they can't even be in any scenes anymore together because like she hates him so much. I don't know the truth of that, but they haven't been in any scenes for quite a while.
Wow, gossip.
Let's move on from the throne room here. All of these scenes are kind of half a scene. It feels like these early scenes, because this next scene we get Sam. I guess in the last episode it didn't really seem like he knew who the grayscale hand belonged to, and now he's in there with the Archmaester, and they're just seeing about treating him, which I guess no one's done, it seems. It was confusing to me. But we do get Jorah reveals himself as a Mormont, and Sam is like, oh, Mormont. And kind of, instead of being like, hey, I knew your dad, and he talked about you once or twice, he just kind of lets it go. And the Archmaester says he's going to die. Right, yeah. But
I was very touched by that reveal.
Yeah. So he's got a day, right? Is that what they said? Later on, that he's got a day to get the hell out of town. So, which begs the question, like, what was he doing in this quarantine room? How sick was he when he showed up? Because it seems like they're just sort of assessing his condition right there.
Yeah. And speaking of his condition, fucking gross. He looks like fucking crispy burnt ends of brisket is covering his body.
Leave him alone.
Oh.
It was really fucking foul.
Leave Jorah alone.
But she told him to go find a cure, right? So maybe he went to the Citadel to ask for help, and at that point, well, they're like, you're too far gone. You're in quarantine now, because they can't let him run out in the general population.
Yes, the cure is right in this room. Follow me. Slams door.
Well, they left him in there with his sword.
I was going to say that. Yeah.
What about Alexi? What do you think about this scene? We haven't heard from you much.
It's like almost if the Citadel Maesters don't have enough their malpractice insurance is really, really expensive, so they can't operate on him. So they're just kind of like, fuck it, we'll just let him die.
Just like, yeah, we'll leave him here, and if he dies, it's not on us. They're like, we couldn't get to him in time.
But I thought the after they're basically Sam skinning him alive, and then they cut to the food, and for a moment you don't realize it's food, and someone eats it. It's probably one of the most disgusting things I've seen on the show.
It was disgusting and brilliant.
My favorite transition.
And also that happens later. Anyways,
fucked up.
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the whole episode.
And we'll talk about it when we get there, because that leads to probably the best scene of the whole episode, I think. But let's move on to, I don't know, maybe the worst scene. I don't know why, because this scene pissed me off and it really shouldn't have. We run back to King's Landing, and Qyburn is evil genius and showing Cersei these giant skulls, which are super awesome. And then he's like, "Oh, I built a ballista, and look, it goes through dragon skulls." And like, now how are you gonna get that to the roof, dude? It's like, come on. I can't even.
I was so
No.
confused by this scene because at first I was like, what are they fucking doing? And then I had the thought, like, what if he's gonna make a dragon? And
He
that would
also
have been
there
so
were no
much better.
holes in the dragon skull. Like that dragon skull was pristine. So it's like, how did
Yeah.
he even know it worked before he came down there to show it to Cersei?
And also,
He was gonna
my
make
favorite-
it.
Sorry, it's really quick. My favorite thing on Twitter I saw today was like, I hope the dragons know how to zigzag.
Oh god. All right, Dana.
If he was gonna make a fake dragon, maybe it could be like those fake crows that people make to keep them off crops and you keep them moving. So just like a massive fake, like puppet dragon, just people moving it around the top of the roof, keeping it
And
away.
it's like jiggling
Dragon?
like Falcor from like Neverending Story or whatever.
Exactly that.
This actually has canonical precedence. I mean, not in the show, but in the
Yeah.
of the books. I mean, this is Meraxes, how Meraxes got killed, from what we know.
So it's a totally plausible idea. I do think that we're going to lose a dragon this year, and I hope it's not something as stupid as like we put some ballistas on the roof and killed one, and it's like, okay.
Oh no, I accidentally fed it chocolate. It's dead.
I got really
Those are
upset
cats.
at this scene because I realized I'm really attached to these CGI monsters that we've been with since season 1, and I really don't
Because
want
we
to.
know
I
what
don't want
happened to
one
the
to
last
die.
CGI characters they had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rest
I
in
do
peace,
think we're
though.
going to lose 1, if not 2, and I really don't want it to happen.
Yeah, it sucks.
Well, maybe Qyburn will actually make a zombie dragon.
I mean, Qyburn is the first one that brings up. That would be interesting. It's the first one that brings up a very valid point in saying, like, well, yeah, they had 3 dragons and they took over the 7 kingdoms. That's what everyone's saying. Like, she's here with 3 dragons. We're done. Like, that was a long time ago. We know a lot more about dragons. Like, the dragons were all killed off for a reason. He brings up the fact that, like, hey, maybe they do have a chance. Although from the trailers, it doesn't really seem like it works.
No. And
I got upset at Qyburn just using the old skulls. I mean, come on, man, that's history. Don't destroy it just to prove a point. Aim it at
Do you
the
know how long
wall,
it took
at
them
the
to build
wall.
those skulls?
It belongs in a museum.
Exactly. I got really worked up, and then I realized it was paper mache.
Balerion is way bigger than Drogon, right?
Oh fuck, that was a
Well,
huge
yeah.
skull.
He's supposed to be able to, like, you know,
Swallow a
eat a whole
horse.
horse, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So that skull was ginormous. Although Drogon has seemed to grow quite fast. I mean, I don't think he's anywhere near that big yet.
And isn't that the skull Arya hides in when she overhears Varys and Illyrio talking in season 1?
No, that was a different skull that was like
Wasn't
super
as big.
Yeah, and I don't even think they were in the same like scene. Well, like it was superimposed in the background or something. It was weird.
Does anyone know what happened to Show Illyrio? Is he just fallen off the map, or
He's
did
not
they-
relevant. I
He's
think.
chilling.
He's chilling over
I
in
think, yeah. I
Pentos.
mean, when was the last time we really heard of Illyrio? Was did he send the ships?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
I
did
mean,
in the
that-
books. I don't remember. The
I'm
show.
trying to remember in the show if there was anything. I think that like he was having trouble getting. I don't know. There was a mention in like season 2 or 3 or something of like, hey, come back this way with your dragons, and I don't think we've heard from him since. So it was,
But Tyrion was-
Zaro shows up and offers ships, and she says no. I remember that.
Wasn't it quickly mentioned that Tyrion was hanging out at his house when he landed, and then
Yeah.
they quickly moved on? Like that was the last time he was mentioned in show, I think.
Wow.
I don't even like they never even really went there in the show, right? Like he just was like off.
No, he was.
Yeah,
they
it
were
was
there.
like a
they
throwaway
opened-
sentence said by Varys.
Yeah, they opened the box. He's like, "Where am I? Oh, my friend Lero Mopatis' place."
Right,
Okay,
right.
let's
But
bounce.
we never saw him because I mean I guess we see him in the premiere episode and like how much dialogue does he have? Is he like yeah? And we get the conversation in Winterfell, which is him. But I mean, who did they even use for that? I mean, I think it just for them it was easier to just cut him out, as they've done with so many characters.
Wasn't George supposed to play him way back in the day?
Was he?
That's what I heard once, but then they did a reshoot or something.
Well, I know the
I feel like
original
that's a
pilot
joke.
had a lot of stuff going on that was a little.
I can't
wonky.
really see George acting at all.
Well, he could just stand there if they dressed him up and everything, and all he had to do was like wave his arms.
Oh yeah.
You know, perfect. Like presenting Danny to Drogo or something.
Wave
Like
his
Peter
arms?
Jackson as one of the pirates in the Lord of the Rings movies.
Yeah, and like the
Yeah.
extended cut part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he had
You know,
cameos in all three of the.
but Roy
Lord of the Rings
Dotrice
movies.
was the pyromancer in season 2.
Yes, he was.
There was that.
They found a use for his voice.
Wasn't he supposed to play like a bigger role? And he got
He was supposed
like,
to play
really sick or
Pycelle.
something.
He was supposed to play Pycelle, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on from this because I think we're only like halfway through, and we got to keep moving. So
Half an hour.
Half an hour. We'll be done in 5 minutes. This I swear. So we head back to Dragonstone for what you wanted to talk about earlier. Yeah. So Asha, Yara, whatever you want to call her, is definitely pushing hard to attack Dragonstone or to attack King's Landing. And Dany says that she doesn't want to be the queen of the ashes, and Tyrion's like, "Hey, I said that." He looks up at her like, "That's mine." She's taking something I said. And the Queen of Thorns and Ellaria also push hard to take King's Landing, and then it's revealed that, well, we're going to take King's Landing, but we're going to do it with all your men, because the Lords of Westeros won't respect our giant horde, which is half of our power. I don't really understand that, but they're all pretty pissed off at that. And they're like, "Why did you bring your armies?" And then she's like, "Well, we're actually going to do an end around and take Casterly Rock and fuck over all the Lannisters, and that's probably the harder job than just sitting outside King's Landing until they give in." And then they seem to be, sufficiently happy.
And the Queen of Thorns really goes after Tyrion here.
Yeah. Now, why is that? Do you think this is more for her own?
I don't know,
her own
but she's
means,
great.
or
She's
just 'cause she's
outlived.
like, screw it. Like
She's
she
outlived all
wants
these
her-
clever people, but she
Yeah.
has no house. So guess what? Like,
she wants her goals to be achieved as quick as possible. Like, she wants to see Cersei dead before she dies herself. But I don't think she hates Tyrion or anything, but she does kind of throw him under the bus.
Yeah, wasn't cool. Wasn't cool, Lady O.
Well, also her 2 kids just died, so I feel by the hands of a Lannister. So I think that she just associates him with them.
Well, was anyone else super pissed off at Ellaria? Because, always pissed off at her because she's terrible on the show now. But
Yep.
But she's just like, "Oh, well, over and dive for you, Tyrion." And it's like, okay, can we back up a second? Like, well, look at the shit you've done, and like, it was a noble cause. He clearly thought so. You're not really like honoring his wishes at all. Like, and really, what he died for was because he was trying to kill the Mountain, and it was like any way that he could get to that fight.
I also really like Tyrion's like kind of backhand. Yeah, well, don't you talk to me about that fucking little girl poisoner.
Yeah. And
Tyrion was a little too blasé about that, about his niece getting murdered by this woman. He's like, Marcella was an innocent, like you're not going to get more up in arms about this? He just seems like kind of put out about the fact that she murdered his niece.
And it was pretty stupid too. I mean, if they hadn't murdered her, they'd have her right now, and they could, give she would have some legitimacy as the next Lannister or something. It's even a dumb political move, even if it's just done for vengeance.
Well, they murdered her. I mean, in the show, it's like they murdered her because she was getting sent back, and that was out of their control, and they were not yet ready to take over Dorne. Although I think they just hadn't planned on doing what they did with Dorne on the show, and that's why they had her killed like that. So if they had planned it in the first place, I assume that it made a lot more sense to just have them take over Dorne and then hold her hostage, because they could have done that at any point, it seems like.
Well, I guess we could talk about it, but was anyone happy with the end with the Sand Snakes? I was like, finally they're gone. It's over. Like, stop.
They're skipping ahead a little bit.
Yeah, we'll come to that, Matt.
Yeah, let's.
I will say I was surprised at the large amount of people that were like, "Those are my favorite characters." So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Who said that?
A lot of sick people in the world.
I'm not even gonna.
Seriously.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's a whole other messed up.
I just want to point out that I actually did like this scene, and as far as like seeing like them, strategize a bit, because I feel like the show has been lately like all action, but they're actually planning shit here. Even though now, with the end of the episode, it's gonna be probably a bit different.
Yeah.
But Dany is a strong leader, it seems, even with those other very strong women in the crew. So yeah, I'm excited to see more of that Olenna Dany interaction, if that's possible.
I feel like
Yes,
this scene was awesome because I'm a sucker for like map tables and planning and moving around markers and shit. It's awesome, but at the same
map
time,
tables. I love to have sex on them.
Yep. Or if not
about
a map table, just paint a giant map on the board. That's cool too, as long as you have markers that you can move around. Awesome. But at the same time, their plan doesn't make a lot of sense. Why the hell do you need to take the fleet all the way down to Dorne and then like sail all the way back up just to attack the bay? And I guess they assume they can just walk right in and siege it. I don't really think there's a lot of people that are going to stop the Tyrell army coming up from the south. So why wouldn't they just go by land?
Well, I'm thinking because we have obviously some Tyrell bannermen with the Lannisters. So it might seem, I think it might be that Olenna doesn't have as tight a control on the Reach as she might think, because the Tyrells are kind of at an end now, because apparently all of them died in this explosion except Olenna, and she's not having any kids anytime soon. So, like,
yeah, they don't even have any cripples or anything.
Yeah, totally. And even if they did, I bet he'd be pretty handsome and pretty great and a wonderful character to include. But anyway, with shipping the Dornish up with ships, I feel like that actually kind of makes sense, because traveling by ship is a lot faster than having to trudge over the Red Mountains through lands where a bunch of people just don't like them because the Stormlands have always hated Dorne. And so, I don't know. I felt it made fairly enough sense to me.
And you also see like Lannister soldiers on land, like with Arya. I mean, that's a little bit not in the right location, but there's Lannister soldiers out there.
It's in the right location. It's in the location where they want to go to siege. Like where they're wanting to land is we don't know where the Lannister army is, unfortunately, but I'm guessing it's sitting there just north of King's Landing, a lot of it, which is exactly where they want to land those ships to siege. So, I mean, I don't know. In order to siege, you have to go from all sides, right? You can't just let them go out the back with their supplies.
The siege part is confusing as far as what Dany and Tyrion are concerned about, because it seems to me that their prerogative is limiting civilian casualties or not burning up all the small folk and causing needless slaughter. But then they're like, we're going to siege them so they don't have enough food and starve them out.
We're not going to be starving them. The Highborn will obviously look out for the small folk too. We're not doing the harm to them.
I mean, they're in a bad situation just because there's no way that the small folk are not going to get involved somehow. But it felt like, I understand your concern, Dany, but you're still killing people.
Didn't she even say we'll starve? She said something like every man, woman, and child. Like, clearly she understands how that works.
Yeah. Well, she's just going to tell all the civilians to come out and hide behind their army and get bread. And little by little, the city will be completely abandoned, and then they'll just move in, and then like they'll be able to siege the Red Keep from in the city, and then they'll just starve out the noble people in the castle. I mean, it's all going to work out.
Even if that part doesn't make sense, I do appreciate Dany's conflict. It's similar to, it's not as drawn out and belabored in the books, but she's stuck between wanting to be a merciful ruler and being someone who is extremely powerful and has the power to just smash this situation under her fist, and she doesn't know what's right. And there's really it's one or the other. You can't really go down the middle.
And I think she's clearly learned something from her dealings, like in Marine and such, where they took the city pretty hardcore, and the people even kind of welcomed her in, and that turned really fast. So I don't know how she thinks the siege is going to end better, but maybe I don't know. Maybe she's just gun shy.
How do you think Dario's doing?
Dario doesn't exist anymore. He's conquered like the entire Dothraki Sea because there's no one to oppose him.
All of Essos is Dario's.
Poor Marine. Sorry, I every time I remember that. Oh yeah, he's king of Marine now. It just blows my fucking mind. Like
he's probably just like really bored and just wants to leave.
He's just like, what the hell am I doing?
He's sitting on the throne of Marine, just like, if I conquer enough of it, maybe she'll come back. Maybe.
He's like, oh, the slavers are here again. All right, let's bring slavery back. I don't want to fight anymore.
Oh,
let's do it.
No.
Maybe he'll be like the Alexander of the Great of Essos. So Jaime just comes back. I conquered all of Essos for you. The fuck?
This scene, does anyone else have a problem with, like, again, this conversation probably should have, like, started before you brought the Dothraki horde over and before you brought the Unsullied over, like...
Well, I sort of get that because, like, they basically, Varys made the deal to get the ships, and the ships come, and they load up. It's all happening very quick, and I think they're all on different ships, it seems. So this, like, once they get to Dragonstone is kind of the first time that they're all together like this. Yeah, because I don't remember seeing the Queen of Thorns or anybody anywhere near. I don't think she sailed to Essos. I think she just sailed to Dragonstone once it was taken, right? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, they probably
was taken
just
by
sent
the
a couple
people
ships.
that were there.
Or...
Yeah.
The fleet would have come right by the edge of Dorne, so they could have just met up as soon as Dany's fleet got to Sunspear.
Yeah.
Because they would have to go there on their way to Dragonstone.
They could have done that. I'm fine with the timing of it. It's the next scene. It's a little weird.
So speaking of where is the Lannister army, is there a point to taking Casterly Rock other than to make Tyrion happy? Like, is
Not
there
at all.
power there
Not at all.
anymore?
No.
Yeah.
It was like
Casterly Rock-
such a big coup, and I'm like,
yeah, but it's
well,
so
what's
far away
there?
from King's Landing.
And Tywin's
Nothing's
gone,
that
and-
far away for an army. Like, it takes a while to move an army, and I imagine there's a fair amount of Lannisters there. You also give them nowhere to retreat to. It's symbolic. It probably gets people onto your side because now you've taken the Lannister stronghold, and they see, like, well, the tides are turning. I don't know.
In a book,
No, it's basically the Dothraki need to do something, so...
Oh, yeah, and I guess in the
Casterly-
show, there's no gold in Casterly Rock.
In the mine,
That's
anymore,
what I
right?
say. Yeah, that's what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they accomplished the same thing just by defeating the Lannister army. Like, that's the main objective wherever it is.
But yeah, we have no
Right.
idea where it is the problem. Last
Well, and
last
once
we saw it,
Cersei's
it was
defeated-
at River Run, right?
That's right.
Yeah, it's a question that should have been answered in the first two episodes at some point.
And I think they're purposely not telling us for reasons. Just like they wanted to surprise us with Euron. We're gonna get to the logistics of that, but I don't know. For all I knew, he was still in the Bay.
Tyrell army, if Randall Tarly is able to go to King's Landing, he couldn't be, just in case he's captured and taken hostage. But who's leading it? Like, we only know of the Tarlys and Mance's mates is dead.
Is there a Tyrell army? They've never done a good job of explaining that.
There's
I don't know if
They do have a Tyrell army because that was the army Olenna brought to the Great Sept.
Right, all
When?
50
No,
of them?
that Mace.
Oh, sorry,
Tyrell
Mace.
brought.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Mace brought because he had the feathered hat.
Darth Mace. Yeah, he's our hero. I'm there are of course houses that are left, but I think the show just doesn't think we care, and so it's not important. They don't need to introduce anyone. Like, the Queen of Thorns is leading the army. Like, that's it.
I
She's
think it's
got
just a
someone
bit,
doing it.
I think it's just a bit simplified, right? Like, they're probably not, like, associating even the Tarleys with the Tyrells necessarily. So it's just saying, like, oh, the Tarleys are over here, and oh, the Tyrells are with Dany. But like, I think we're reading into it where like we think Dorne and the Reach are completely divided now because everybody's dead. But it might be just more simple than that.
Yeah. Like for all we know, it's the High Towers. I mean, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It just seemed like
headcanon.
that. It just seemed like that Elena hadn't even been in contact with her bannerman after, that whole explosion thing, and that felt odd to me.
Well, it's weird. I mean, because it seems like she clearly ran off to Dorne, but I'm assuming Highgarden she's still in control of Highgarden. I don't know who she would have left to manage that. And maybe she's just kind of taken her time and she's not really called her banners or let people know what she was doing for obvious reasons.
And also, all the Septons and are they not rebelling? I mean, they just basically destroyed. Like, if you blew up the Vatican City, I feel like that people aren't going to. I'm surprised.
Yeah, but if all the cardinals are in the building when you blow it up, it's a little hard to mount a resistance, right? Like,
I mean, yeah, but it's like a continent-wide religion. There's no repercussion for blowing up.
Yeah, but most people are not nearly as militant. It seems like all of the really devout were called to King's Landing to be part of the Faith Militant and be part of the new revolution or whatever, and they were just all there. I mean, I think that's what we're supposed to believe, because I don't think it's going to come up again.
Well, we know there's one Septa still trying to put up a good fight against the Mountain.
Is she still alive? God. What do we think?
I think we'll never see her again because
I really hope she's dead.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
Or undead.
Sorry, Paul, why aren't we ever going to see her again? I had the lag and then I heard you speaking. I'm so sorry.
No, I never explained it. I just feel like we're never going to see her again because that storyline ended with Cersei closing the door and smiling. I
kind of thought that Gregor ate her, but I don't know.
So we're going hard on the zombie angle, I see.
I don't know. I mean, that was like, it seemed like it's like you were locking her in with this monster and he took his helmet off. When does this guy take his helmet off? Old, like, no neck from like the last episode with that really weird helmet. Probably just to eat people. I mean, that's what I would think, but
That's what I would do if I were a zombie.
Yeah, if I were zombie Gregor. I do also like how it's mentioned later on about they talk about the mountain, and like everyone just is like, oh yeah, the mountain's still alive, and he's that dude on the King's Guard. I guess she calls him Sir Gregor and all that, but I wouldn't have thought that the news would have spread so far so quickly. So can we get to this Grey Worm Missandei sex scene? Can we?
I thought you'd never ask.
Hell
Can we put this one to bed? Okay.
Unit action.
It was sweet.
So it was. I thought
it
was really sweet and touching, and it's like Missandei's into him, and he's finding his feels, but it seemed to go on for very long. And
for me, it was. I'm like, I see them kiss. I'm like, oh, how sweet. And then in the back of my mind is like, oh, this is Game of Thrones. They're getting naked. They're having sex. And I went, no, impossible.
Oh, no.
This is supposed to be the sweet couple that we just go, aw. But nope,
They're supposed
sure
to
enough,
hold
we're going to get some
hands.
raunchy sex.
He's going to hold your hand when I get back.
What's wrong with having sex?
The part, was it confusing? What were you saying, Amber?
Oh, am I confusing Varys with all the Unsullied? I thought they didn't have winkies.
They don't.
I don't know about it. In the book, they take it off because they say, like, well, if they get kind of fat and lazy, like even if you take the berries, the twig can still be used.
Right.
Like they'll blow your minds. You can have sex without a penis.
Exactly. I really thought they said that in the show. But
we know that, but it just seemed like when he was on top of her, I was like, what is...
He thrust a little bit.
Yeah, it was... Because the actor has
action.
it.
The actor still has it.
And what's he going to think when he gets down there and sees that? I mean, like, her breasts are perfect, but it's like, what do you don't look at that and know exactly what to do.
Do the sex Sullied get sex ed?
Oh my god.
I mean, look at our hero Pod. He knew exactly what to do right off the bat.
I did make a note that this would have been a better scene for next episode after Jon arrives, because then at least we can have a scene with him explaining the Lord's Kiss.
Remember, guys, Jon invented cunnilingus here.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so in the animal kingdom, that's called GG rubbing.
What?
Just FYI.
What the fuck is that?
Varley, what?
Really?
Hey, other Matt, what do you think of what this Matt said?
Oh God, please don't bring me into this.
Do you think Grey Worm is toast?
Yes.
I do.
Yeah,
This
absolutely.
season,
Yeah.
sometime, I think he's done.
Yep.
I
It'd
think
be
that's
nice
part of
if
the
he has a
reason
weakness.
why.
Oh, one at a time.
Sorry. Katie can go.
Like
I was
I
gonna-
said,
it'd
you
be-
want this, it's like,
Ugh.
see ya.
Katie.
Like where you want.
Katie.
What?
Katie.
I was saying it would be nice if they didn't kill off one of our only 2 black actors on the show. So I'm hoping that I'm wrong in my instincts that this is like he gets one good night of sex and then that's it for him.
Well, okay, so this is something that Game of Thrones likes to do, is like a character gets kind of like an epiphany or like their journey,
Climaxes.
yeah, like, ooh,
Don't
look,
use that word.
he's a good person, now he's dead, Game of Thrones does it a lot. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I know the themes are not very deep in the show, but it would be nice if not only are, in the meta level are 2 black actors, but also in the show, like the 2 people who are not nobility, who have been denied personhood their whole lives, who have suffered terribly. It'd be great if
and who finally found each other.
Yeah, it'd be great if they both made it out of this horrible predicament alive.
Season 9 is just them rowing back to Essos by themselves, like.
Coming across Gendry. Come on, let's go to Essos.
Gendry just runs a ferry across the narrow sea. That's canon.
How he made all his money.
Yeah. So I mean, are we good on this? It was I just thought it was a bit long and uncomfortable in parts. And
I didn't
even
think any of it was uncomfortable.
That's what she
I
said.
didn't either. Yeah.
Oh goodness. But even like I don't know, some sex scenes, like even if it was just like 2 random people and it had nothing to do with the kind of weirdness of their situation, sometimes it just goes on too long.
Sometimes you just
yeah.
have some weirdness in the situation and they figured it out.
Yeah, I just could have assumed that. You could have cut to like, that was great. Miss
What do you
Cindy.
want them to like show how they're gonna do it?
I did wonder if we
basically
were going to
did.
see like some prosthesis
yeah.
or something.
Yeah,
It stops midway. A PowerPoint shows up. D&D show up. Okay, now I know a
We
few of
know-
you might be confused.
We know this
So let's
show
go by
loves
this
showing
step by
boobs,
step.
but they won't show the male penis. They won't show it. They'll never show the penis. They'll never show it. It's huge.
We've seen some-
It's huge.
We've seen dicks.
There was no threat of any penis showing.
Yeah, I think in recent years we've seen it more. There was the,
We got half of
there was the dead one last week, right?
We've seen
Yep.
Hodor's penis.
There was a dead penis.
When did we
Yeah,
see
that
that?
corpse. There was the corpse last week. Anyway,
Hodor came
Um,
naked out of the Godswood and showed
in
himself off.
season 1
Yeah.
Oh,
with Asha.
yeah.
To which Asha said he must have giant's blood in him.
OSHA.
Hell yeah.
There's no
Yeah,
OSHA,
OSHA, y'all.
here.
Remember Osha?
Oh, so.
See, even we get confused. Thank you for changing your name, D&D.
Boo.
Because Braun and
Okay.
Bran didn't get confusing.
Who?
Not at all, because one's a little sweet little boy that can't walk and has a direwolf. Okay, so Sam, let's move on. Sam is at the Citadel, and he's getting a bunch of books pulled from the chains, and the books are... One of them is the history of Lannisters, and dude's talking about how he's writing history of the wars following the death of King Robert, which is a shitty title. Sam has a good point. And yeah, those chains, man. I'm digging this library. Anyway, so he brings up, how maybe we could use some of that obsidian to cure the grayscale. And he says, nope. The dude who thought of that died of grayscale, which is a pretty compelling argument, I think.
Yeah.
But when we see what he's about to do, it's like, well, maybe he couldn't just do this on himself, or maybe it was too intense and he died from it. I don't know. But he goes down to see Jorah, and I have to say that he brings some rum, and rum is not enough. Sam, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, you're at the pinnacle of medical learning in all of Westeros. They got milk of the poppy. They got like I don't know, like some lidocaine or something. Like bring bring something other than rum for this poor man who you're about to flay.
I mean, also, alcohol doesn't tend to take an effect after 10 seconds as well.
Right.
And he would just bleed to death.
In TV, as soon as it touches your lips, you don't feel pain anymore.
Yes. Well, the one thing I wanted to point out here was it seems like that the Citadel or whoever's in charge of Sam is really keeping a lot of stuff from him. And, he is watching a lot of these medical procedures, but I don't know if they're like telling him like, oh, this is milk of the poppy. We use this for X, Y, and Z. So I don't know like how much he's actually like learning like about medical procedures or like things that you shouldn't need to be doing right now.
He's not a real doctor.
He couldn't have been there for more than like a couple of months at this point. Like even if we're allowing all this travel time, like he hasn't been there for years.
Well, I think the shit montage from last episode really, kind of let us know the passage of time.
And
remember that?
Yes.
Remember the shit
3
montage?
shits equals a day. So one thing that we never really saw was his intake. We never really saw like how well they actually took to him coming from the wall and wanting to be a maester and all this. That just was sort of skipped. That would have been kind of a nice scene to have, but maybe there's a reason why. I mean, he's palling around with the Archmaester, or maybe it's one of the Archmaesters in the show. I don't really know, because it's not Marwyn, right? I think he was credited as a different name. But I don't think they do that for anyone that shows up wanting to be a maester. So, I mean, he's doing a lot of shitty tasks because he's a novice or whatever. But
yeah, I think they do. I mean, that the fucking asshole Pate is like somehow got into the Citadel, right? And he sucks.
Right, but like not everyone that gets into the Citadel gets to like have the Archmaester give them kind of like private, attention like that. I don't know. I guess he is an intern, so
yeah.
Interns are around powerful people so they can change bedpans.
All I can think of is that's why the other Maester ended up with getting grayscale, because he kept shushing the guy that he was playing and sticking his manky gloves up to his lips. That's how you get grayscale, Sam.
Yeah, they don't know about proper aseptic technique in Westeros.
Yeah, and they probably didn't have milk of the puppy because you'd have to go past the pharmacist and he would know what's up, and then they'll be like, oh no, maybe you're doing something. Because, the Citadel has like a pharmacist for the European.
With Sam getting the special treatment, it might kind of make sense since he's going to be like the only guy working for the Night's Watch as their maester. And they're like, oh shit, we need to fill this position pretty soon. How about you just follow this Archmaester around?
Yeah, because they're without a maester right now, so that's urgent enough. But I mean, he makes the point of like, well, I need to learn shit really quickly because the Army of the Dead is coming. But I mean, when he went down, it seemed like he had a couple weeks to get ready, and now we've kind of slowed down a bit for that. But it like no one believes him. Also, he keeps telling them like he's seen others in whites and giants, and they're like, okay, but we're gonna teach you how to be a maester. Like, you'd think they just think he's crazy.
He needs the DeVry Institute of Maesterhood.
The Archmaester actually isn't fast-forwarding his training. He just really badly wants someone to edit his book for him, take down dictation and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh my God, he's the dean of the Citadel.
Sam has to pay. That's what it is. It's like like the other maesters are like, yeah, you can learn at the Citadel at the normal rate, or you can pay for accelerated courses from Archmaester, and you'll never be able to afford it. It's like $1 million.
Buy the Maester's robes and you get your first link.
It costs 1 Valyrian steel sword. Oh my gosh, you have one?
Yeah, where's he keeping that sword?
I'm sure he's going to be at Dragonstone soon, and he's going to give it to Jon and whatever. Or maybe Dany. Maybe Dany's going to have that sword.
Ooh.
I want big.
Sam the Slayer to keep the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. He can stick to the little obsidian knives. That's fine. Dude would not be very effective with that giant sword. All right. So do we want to talk any more about this brutal peeling away of the grayscale, and then I guess it just heals and the grayscale is no longer in you? I thought he was going to have to eat.
Shout out for the best cut from pussy flesh to meat pie.
Oh my gosh, I wanted
almost
that pie.
threw
It
up.
looks so good.
I almost threw up.
At first, I'm like, oh, wow, this is getting pretty graphic. And then the guy ate it. And I'm like, I see what you did there.
It definitely took a second. I'm like, oh, man, that grayscale goes deep. And it's, no, that's chicken pot pie. So, hot pie?
Hot pie.
Hot pie.
Why
I
is
love
he
this
not
scene.
making direwolf bread anymore? I would have thought that would be like a top seller.
Now that
Like-
there's a giant direwolf killing people in the woods, it's seen as just kind of bad taste.
It was really popular for a while.
And then the
All those
locals
people
started getting
dying.
angry.
I love this scene. Not
It's
just
the
because
best scene.
not just because we got a hot pie back, but I actually thought it was kind of subtle acting from Maisie Williams, and that she doesn't look at him when she's talking to him, and that seems like she just seems like she has a really difficult time relating to other people now. Like she's not quite sure how to behave normally if it's not an act.
She's not really there. I mean, is what I kind of felt is that she's looking forward to King's Landing, and then when he mentions about like, oh, I thought you'd be going to North because I've got all the information about the Battle of the Bastards and Jon Snow. I don't know why they brought her this far south just to turn her around, other than to bring hot pie back. So clearly they knew how important hot pie was.
Worth it.
She should have hugged him. Like, what are the odds of like people in this world running into each other, especially during a war?
She did go back to the last place that she saw him. So
That's true. This is a landmark.
friends don't pay, and you're just like, well, friends got a hug. Come on. Like, oh, I can't believe I thought you were a boy. You're quite pretty. And she's just sort of like, I don't know. She doesn't really seem to even take that. He was so nice, and I mean, she wasn't mean to him or anything, but
Yeah, she's a little disassociated with her situation.
Yeah, she just came back from a secret guild of assassins, so.
And she's like plotting all the ways she can kill Cersei and get into the Red
she just
Keep.
murdered an entire household, and now it's like, oh, let's hug.
A girl takes a step and then another, and then one day she is in King's Landing.
She's going to miss Jon, though, right? I mean, she's going to get to see Sansa, but like Jon is going to leave on the boat, and she's not going to get there in time.
Maybe Jon will be back by the time she gets there.
I hope so.
Maybe.
She's probably going to get there next episode. Let's not fool ourselves.
She has a horse. Maybe there's
a very fast
transporting horse. Yeah.
Yeah, one person traveling up the King's Road doesn't take that long. I mean, it's still.
It takes as long as the plot needs it to. She could be delayed.
Ed Sheeran shows up. I'm actually a bad man.
Speaking of Ed Sheeran, though, I'm kind of sad that we're not getting more with not Ed Sheeran, but of course, but like the other characters that were there.
Ed Sheeran, Casey. Okay, I see how it is.
You mean that one really hot Lannister guy with the black hair?
And the other cute Lannister guy that I thought was cute.
Let's circle back to last week. Are you guys kind of surprised by like the major like Ed Sheeran blowback online?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I mean, it was like a lot of people didn't know who he was.
He quit Twitter before the episode aired. That was
apparently he knew it was coming. So he's smart. But like I don't know. I mean, he seems like a decent guy. I didn't think people like really disliked him or anything. And then all of a sudden he's like on Game of Thrones, and the pitchforks came out.
I don't know if like maybe I'm just not in touch with what the kids are hip with today. But I had no clue who he fucking was. And
okay, neither did I.
Yeah, like he doesn't seem like a super iconic face. It's not like David Bowie came out of the grave to be a Lannister.
No.
David Bowie's corpse is actually
it's like
CGI
John
Wayne budget. Yeah.
The Lord of Light loves his music.
They rotoscoped Bowie's face onto Ed Sheeran's head.
But I think it was just an excuse to have a little music, and like he wanted to be on the show, and Maisie, I guess, wanted to be on the show, and I mean, it seemed fine to me. Like I thought that the problems with that scene were not around him. I thought the problems with that scene were that they kind of laid it on a little thick, so that was maybe a little too long. But it was still a fine scene.
The problem with the scene was that every second was waiting for rape to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It was torture.
It was just like, please don't rape her.
Do you think it's because he's a ginger? That.
Well, I wasn't gonna put that forward,
Whoa.
but
clearly
they have no souls. So
Sorry.
Jesus.
Like, I have no problem with it, but I'm like, I feel like if this guy didn't have bright orange hair, people wouldn't want to push him around so much.
I don't think it's necessarily about Ed Sheeran. It's more about, like, just most people who are my age know who he is. And and it took me out of the scene. I was like, I know that guy. That's Ed Sheeran. I don't care what his character name is. That's Ed Sheeran in a scene right now, and this is totally set up for Ed Sheeran.
Yeah,
So
it
just
took
me
out
of it for a little bit. But I
mean,
wasn't
that's
like...
what Dana said last week, and that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
But I just, the amount, like, there's a amount of saying, oh man, it took me out of the scene, and being like, fuck Ed Sheeran, which is what I've seen like on the internet. Like, there's a difference, you know.
I feel like for younger audience, maybe like we've never, like most of the pretty much all the actors in Game of Thrones, the first time we've ever seen them is in Game of Thrones. While if you've seen more, like, a lot of those actors are pretty famous. So if you see an actor that in a movie, you're more used to that. While, like, I guess if all the characters you've seen, you saw them for the first time, and suddenly there's someone that you knew before, I guess it can be a bit more jarring.
I guess maybe it's
all these other, like, actors, like Broadbent. Like, I'm not like, oh, that's Jim Broadbent. I'm like, oh my God, Professor Slughorn, because he's an actor, because he's been in other movies acting.
Right.
But meanwhile, Ed Sheeran's a singer, and I'm just like, I mean, it also took me out of it, but I wasn't to the point of fuck Ed Sheeran.
that guy from the Bastard Executioner. Anyway.
The what?
I like that she's prioritizing her family that was alive instead of her family that was dead. She was going after Cersei because of her mom and Rob and everything, but learning that she has family alive and that changes everything, I think is good progression for Arya. I hope. And she's not just gonna get to.
She's just thinking of the ways that she can kill them.
Yeah,
they didn't come for her.
I don't want her to like accidentally to stab Sansa in like a PTSD like fever dream. And
Sansa,
like,
I'm making a sandwich. Do you? Oh no!
I tripped over.
Yeah. And like Sansa comes in, she's like, Arya,
oh
you're right, and Arya's just like, stab. I don't want that to happen.
Wait, Sansa is a Lannister. She's going to kill the Lannisters.
She's got Cersei hair. It's almost like they're identical.
Oh no!
Oh no!
I legitimately have fear about what they're gonna do with Sansa and like make her like super evil or something like that, where she needs to be killed. I mean, I don't want them to do that, but I feel like they'll just be like, fuck it. We have 10 episodes left, and she's a woman who's ambitious. Burn her.
Can't have that.
Yeah.
Well, also she needs to stop.
And Sansa has bad luck. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. She needs to stop fucking back-talking Jon in public. It was killing me.
Or Jon should talk to her first.
Yeah, they have that conversation in private.
They did have the conversation, but I think his
changed his mind.
Yeah.
They had the conversation.
That scene here.
They really need to have a pre-meeting before the general meeting where they, talk to each other and.
You always have a pre-meeting.
Yeah.
So that brings us back to Winterfell.
Sorry, Adam. I thought we'd already passed it. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay. We're moving forward to Winterfell, where Jon gives his like, "I'm the king of the North, but I'm going south" speech, and everyone's like, "Fuck, the king of the North needs to stay here in the North." The most badass lady in the North tells him that, and he sort of listens but doesn't. They're all understandably pissed, and I think he's wrong here, but also right. I don't know. That seems to be the North.
Well, that doesn't make sense.
He's wrong because Jon has a habit of just like getting into positions of authority and then cutting and running to everyone's perception. That's kind of what he's doing, is that we gave you this title and now you're leaving for possibly never to come back. I don't understand why he didn't send Sansa as an emissary. Like, that seemed to be what she was goading him into, and he doesn't want to offend Daenerys because he needs her as an ally, but still sending the king to negotiate. Like, you would do that after you know that you have a better bridge between two
You
parties.
meet on neutral ground or something. I mean, I feel like the main thing with him is that he feels like he needs to tell his story because none of them have seen the dead army, and like he's the only one that can really relay that out, I guess. But I don't know. He repays Sansa for kind of like, giving him some sass, and leaves her in charge. So,
which is concerning.
It's concerning. And Littlefinger is over there like, yes, like an idiot. But
yeah,
I also think that, like, if you're Jon and you're thrust into positions of power, you're also not allowed to be like, I never asked for this. Like, well, then you should have said no. Like, every time, like you were saying, like with the Night's Watch, like, I didn't want to be Lord Commander. Like, well, okay, you are. So get over it.
Sansa could have done it.
Well, he was going to support Sansa, but then, anyway, that was last season.
Yeah.
We're beyond that.
And everybody was weird.
But for a moment, I almost felt like he was going to be like, fine, I quit. The North is yours. Like, what? Dude,
it's like emo Jon.
Yeah, he's like so emo Jon right now. He was sad the whole fucking episode.
You can't quit being king.
So Sansa has a bad history of when she gets agency, something awful happens to her.
I don't know what Littlefinger is up to. Like, what is he I don't know what he has no power, really. Like,
he's kind
of what is that gonna do to Littlefinger though? Like, you see him like slowly losing power over Sansa and he's lost power over Jon, even though I don't think he ever really had it. But like, what's he gonna do like when he wants that back?
He can't like take the Knights of the Vale and be like, we're taking this back by force. Like, it wouldn't work, and I don't think he has enough people now with all the other Northern Lords there anyway. Slowly, you could try to sow the seeds of, like, hey, Sansa's better for the North, but the show doesn't have time for slowly. So I'm kind of worried. I hope nothing comes of this and it just ends with Littlefinger dead, because at the end of this, we get Jon basically being like, what the fuck are you down here in the crypts, and like wants to kill him. He could have saved us all some trouble right there.
He's just lurking these last few episodes, lurking and sneaking and
he's
whispering.
Such a creeper,
such a weasel. I hope that Sansa opens her chamber door and he's just sprawled there with rose petals, like, this is my only plan.
It's like a pillow covering his loins.
What, this doesn't get to you? Like, this has been my strategy.
I love your mother and I love you. Whoa, okay, this is not turning me on. I'm so sorry.
I got the bearskin carpet.
But it's like
no.
It's crazy that he even uses the same. Like, his game is so weak. He uses the same thing with Jon. Is like, I really loved Kat. I know you hated her, but I loved her. I love your sister too. And dude, do you think this is like a good thing to say? Like, I don't.
It's just locker room talk, guys.
I mean, like, if someone came to you and was like, I loved your stepmom, and I love your sister, you would just be like, dude, never come back around me ever again. This is weird.
I mean, Sansa's mom has got it going on, so he just wants her.
Oh, damn it.
Now I have a song stuck in my head with the wrong words. Thanks.
Sorry.
We could get on that. Maybe he could make a cover.
I just feel like there has to be some third element. Like, I guess Arya becomes the wild card in this situation that might, seal his fate in some way, because, like, Sansa isn't interested. Like, there's nothing he could do really that would make her revert to be like. She was never into him, but like seeing him as a protector or as someone who's loyal to her anyway, he's already fucked that up. So I don't know. I really don't know what they're gonna do with his character.
Do you feel his path to the Iron Throne is like the most unrealistic? Like,
yes.
Even more so than old like fucking like Balon over there. Like, I'm gonna be the king of the Iron. No, dude. Like over here, Littlefinger's like, yes, me and Sansa on the Iron Throne. Like, dude, there's dragons and like other armies that are way bigger than yours. Like, you're not even in the same league. I don't know if you ever were.
It doesn't make sense with the logistics of how their monarchy works either, because he's a minor noble. He has no claim to the throne. At best, he would be like a consort or something.
I will kill all the nobles ahead of me, and create new ones.
He's basically like
he did.
the Postmaster General of
I feel like
Westeros.
he had a long game where, like, by the time he was 80, he will have gotten all of the other nobles to owe money that they couldn't pay back, and then someone would be sending assassins for all of them at once, except for him, because he paid his debts.
In the earlier seasons, he was kind of portrayed as such a genius, and then, he doesn't even know what Ramsay is like, and then now he just seems like they don't know what to do with him, so they just have him creeping around and doing nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, the North's also not really about money, really. Like, right? That's
it's about
his
loyalty.
thing.
Yeah, or even like secrets or like shame or whatever. Like I think a lot of the things that that Littlefinger uses, like people in the North would be like, okay, he's trying to blackmail me. I'm just going to tell everyone this is what I did, and they'd be like, all right, they would just be like, that's embarrassing. Okay.
Did anybody else
Good to know.
really want Jon to just end him?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I wanted him to die last season because he's just become like any hope that people had of him being like a master plotter went out a long time ago. So like I don't know what his point is, and they're trying to make it happen after he's been so inept. It's like just forget it.
But hey, shout out to Jon choking Littlefinger like how Ned choked Littlefinger in season 1.
Yeah.
Right next to that ugly statue of Sean Bean, which
Someone
worked hard on that.
built
Katie.
that?
Someone posted that on Facebook and was like, "Oh my gosh, the likeness is so great." I was like, "Yep, for the time, maybe."
No, but who fucking
medieval
had
Europe,
time
yeah.
to build that? Who did that? Because the Boltons were there the whole time.
Littlefinger paid for it. Okay,
And the Boltons were okay with that?
he brought the bones and stuff in the show. Did that happen? Like in the show,
yes,
when he I've brought Ned's bones. When was that?
that was when Caitlyn was with with Renly.
Renly.
Yeah. He came down and was in her tent and was trying to woo her while she's standing over her
No, I know,
husband's
but
skeleton.
He was saying that he brought the bones all the way back to Winterfell. Did that happen when he brought Sansa?
I don't think that happened. I think he gave it to Kat, and then maybe she sent them back to Winterfell.
Cool, but I thought that's what he said in this episode, though. Is he's like, "Oh, I made sure that they were brought back here and everything."
Well, maybe that's as far as Jon
maybe
proceeded.
I saw
Maybe
it
that is
wrong.
making sure, sending them the Catelyn.
Yeah, because in the show they get the bones back, but they're trapped. They never make it to Winterfell in the book. I mean,
Yeah, they're off with Mage Mormont, I think, and Glover.
or no, who was it? Lady
Stoneheart.
Lady Dustin that says
Oh,
she's
yeah.
like
Oh,
she's like, I ain't
Dustin,
letting
yeah.
that shit pass me. Like I'm gonna burn that corpse.
There is
it's
there is a
both-
statue of Ned in the books, though. They say that they hire someone who knew him enough that he could get a likeness to make the statue. I think it's in a Bran chapter. It happens in Clash, I think.
Yeah, it's right when they find out that he was dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maester Lewis says "Oh, we're gonna have to find someone who knew." It's like,
Did anyone know? Does Littlefinger know? He doesn't know that Jon is the son of Rhaegar, right? But he knows something, because I know in the 2 seasons ago, he was in the crypts with somebody, and he kind of hinted at it. But because when I first saw the scene,
With
I was
Sansa.
like, whoa, yeah. Was he gonna say something about that? Because the Lyanna statue's down there, but he doesn't know any more than that. The relationship may have been more consensual than Robert thought, right? That's the only thing he knows.
how does he even know that? Wouldn't that be public knowledge?
Is it? I feel like only people who were in the court at the time would know, and he was what? He was 12, 13? He wasn't in King's
Yeah, he was
Landing.
working at Gulltown or whatever. It was a tax collector, wasn't he?
Yeah. The only reason I thought he may know, because just from that other scene, it just kind of hinted at it, but it doesn't really make sense that he would know.
Catelyn knew the whole time and found out. I'll be over here.
I really wanted Jon to not get on his horse and ride off, but just go up to Sansa and be like, "That guy's a fucking creep. Do you want more people around you? Because he is a fucking creep. What do you need? Do you need more? Do you need more men?"
Yeah,
than
I mean,
Brienne?
I guess he does
what can
control
I
the
do
Knights
for
of the
you
Vale.
to,
So
Yeah, what can I do for you so you don't feel like a prisoner when you're ruling on my behalf?
Yeah, it's sort of an empty threat to say, "I'll kill you if you touch my sister," as you're walking out the door to get on a ship.
Yeah, like it would have been better to be like, Lord Manderley says that he'll kill you for me if you touch Sansa or something, you know.
Sansa's also got Brienne though, so Brienne ain't gonna be taking no shit.
Until you said that, I forgot Brienne was at Winterfell.
We saw her face, right, in this episode?
She's hanging out, waiting for them to give her a storyline.
Yeah.
I mean, the Knights of the Vale are they're still there, right? We just don't really see them.
I mean, I assume they're just right outside hanging out.
They're not going to go home.
Yeah, Lord Royce is in the councils with them.
I'm sure we will come back here next episode, and I'm sure Arya will be there, like in the first scene, or maybe the second scene. We'll see. So, speaking of Arya, she is hanging out with her horse, who doesn't have a saddle or anything on. I think she's just kind of settling down to camp for the night. And a bunch of wolves attack, and I'm like, oh, Nymeria is pretty small. And then I'm like, oh, no, that's not Nymeria. And we finally get a giant fucking direwolf for like 10 seconds. And Arya's like, hey, come with me, girl. I'm going to Winterfell. Come north. And you know, you would think this direwolf would be like, please take me with you, but she just sort of pieces out with her wolf pack. Which, I mean, I guess would make sense if they had set any of that up on the show. But it was just disappointing. It's like, I don't know. Like, I kind of felt like, why not just not have Nymeria at all if you're going to do this? But I guess she said, when she turned around, she said, what did she say? Oh, that's not you. And, like, I saw people online saying, like, oh, well, that means that, you know, she's not a Stark. Or that's not really Nymeria. That's a different wolf or whatever. For a second, I was like, what does she mean? But I guess after the episode, they said it was a callback to season 1 when she's talking to Ned. And Ned's like, you're going to be a lady in a great house. And she's like, yeah, that's not my thing. That's not me. So it is kind of poetic. And I mean, it's a nice scene. It just, I don't know. It was a little frustrating because, you know, they're not going to pay for any more CGI in Nymeria.
I can't understand why the direwolf CGI is so much. Because, I mean, all you do is you take a wolf, right, and you make it bigger. It's like, well, the dragons, they have to completely make up for nothing. So it seems like it's probably not that expensive compared to the dragons. Maybe they just...
I feel like it's still pretty intensive, and especially because you're actually dealing with a moving, like an actor, like the moving wolf or dog or whatever they have. So that might even make it harder. I don't know.
Well, not even that.
With the dragons, you just have to have Dany there, like massaging like a Q-tip.
I watched this Pixar kind of documentary thing at one time, and they talked a lot about how hair is very difficult to do, like anything that like moves like that. So I think that might have to do with it. But that's a theory. Don't quote me on it.
What does Arya say as the wolf leaves?
That's not you.
That's not you.
What is that supposed to mean?
Katie,
that's
what
I just talked
Oh, I'm
about
so
it.
sorry. I was looking at porn. So keep going. What is
Wait.
No.
Whoa. You
can't just gloss over that. Did it involve Game of Thrones?
No.
Oh.
Okay, well, cut it out. Cut out that part. But
No.
That's
What just happened?
What does it mean?
They said after the episode, because I was confused too. I was like, no, that's clearly Nymeria. What does she mean? They said after the episode that was like supposed to be like a really obvious callback to season 1, where she's sitting with Ned and he says, you're going to be a great, lady in a great house. And she's like, that's not me. Like, I'm going to be someone different. Yeah, no one got that, I don't think, because I had to explain that to like 5 different people. I was like, you didn't watch after the episode? Because clearly they knew they needed to explain it.
Twice.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So,
Anyway,
I mean, it's when you know what it is, it's kind of a sweet callback. But they didn't set up wolf dreams. They didn't like. It's just I think a lot of people were like, "What do they mean? That's not you." Like, oh, it's they're gonna come back later, and it's gonna be the real Nymeria or something. I don't know.
How many direwolves are running around the Riverlands though? Like all the people who thought it wasn't Nymeria. I don't know how they could possibly think that.
No, I know. I just for a second, you're just. It's a very confusing scene.
Especially since they haven't done much with the dire wolves.
Yeah,
I mean, we literally haven't seen Nymeria CGI'd at all. Like we haven't seen her since she got hit with a rock and Or I don't even know if we saw
Played
that
by an
part.
actual dog.
Yeah, which is played by an actual dog after the whole incident with Joffrey in like episode 2 or 3, whenever that was.
I think it did symbolize, though, that she is not, like, even if she's going back to Arya, she's claiming that she's Arya Stark, she's not, like, she's lost so much of herself that she's not even Arya anymore. So, like, and I'm talking about, like, you know, her as a person, not, like symbolizing she's not a Stark. It's just symbolizing that she is completely losing herself. And she is either going to try to get that back, or she's going to be completely volatile and bad shit's going to happen. I don't really know what they're going to do with it.
Her whole arc has been about, like, her Starkness and, you know, avenging the Starks. And I'm Arya all season. It's just been, like, everywhere she goes, I'm Arya Stark. And, like, she still is clearly messed up because she was, like, a child assassin, almost. So, yeah, I don't know.
Well, I think last season and the season before really took away the Arya Stark portion of it.
I mean, I guess, like, how old was she when she left? I mean, like, she hadn't really defined what Arya Stark was even when her dad had died, right? So,
did anyone have a quick daydream of, you know, Nymeria coming up and then Arya just jumps on her back and then they just prance all the way to Winterfell and
yes, I did.
No.
There's unicorns.
Flies.
She
flies.
Everything's good and they all just have a happy, you know. Oh.
Be nice.
She shows up and she's like, "I found Lady."
Oh.
Lady's a good wolf. Let's move on because that's actually
I'm
kind of
so
sad.
glad my recording kind of fizzed out. Like my Foxtel lost signal right during that scene, so I didn't miss all of it, but enough of it where it didn't make me cry. I was just able to be really mad that my signal was messed up, and then the scene was over, which was I was glad about that. I'm such an ugly crier. No, fuck no. I'm sorry. I still have troubles describing Homeward Bound without crying, so missing that scene was okay. It was okay.
Aww.
It was yeah. Not fun.
I need to watch Homeward Bound again.
Yeah.
No.
Well, speaking of really
movie.
sad scenes, we're gonna go to a much more upbeat scene, and we've got a party on a boat, and we've got some sand snakes talking about mommy, and we got Yara and Illyria, and they both kind of swing both ways, it seems. And I mean, that was all cool. Them, like, they got this thing going on. But then, like, she's trying to get Theon involved. Like, that was weird. She was like, "Hey, Theon, what's like? Why aren't you coming over here?" It was just like, just tell him to leave then.
I thought it was funny.
If he wants some privacy, I don't know. I thought that was weird.
I thought it was funny because, like, they're like seriously flirting with each other, and then you like cut to the scene where like you see Illyria going in for it, and then Yara like looks up at Theon. She's like, "I don't really know what's happening, but this is great." Like,
no, I mean, Illyria seemed to just be like, "Hey, Theon, you coming over here?" And like, you could have just like seriously been like, "Hey, privacy, boy." But I do like how Yara was like, "Hey, he's not your servant. Like, come on." Like, she was sticking up for her brother a little bit, which made what happened
Works out well for her.
later suck. Yeah, so they're on their pleasurable cruise at night because that's the perfect time to make a short trip home, where you can't see things coming at you. And we get Euron's giant boat, which is pretty darn intimidating, and it's got this really cool ram plank on the end, and you know, some badass stuff happens, and they just show up and basically kill everybody. Was that a Valyrian steel axe? It looked kind of like it might have been like the weird metal there.
I don't know. Was it?
Maybe
Maybe it was just my TV, but was this really dark for everyone? Like, I had a hard time.
It was very dark.
Yeah, it was super dark.
And so if I was watching
very dark and lots of quick edits.
I was watching like which, you know, unfortunately that jump cut like action style is what's popular now, but I was watching like the behind the scenes thing. They're showing how they filmed it, and you know, it's like basically all green screen, but it's these massive boats, and like it's like bright and it looks really cool. And I'm like, you know, you turn the filter down too much. I had to turn the brightness up on my screen because I was just missing so much. It was not the greatest part, but the action was pretty good. It was well choreographed. It was insane. People getting their tongues cut out, and the sand snakes are finally gone, which I think a lot of people wanted. And then all of a sudden, a lot of people were like, "No, sand snakes. They were my favorite."
What? What are those?
Yeah, I
monsters?
saw a lot of
Where
that.
are those people?
And I feel like a lot of them were like, well, they were kind of my favorite from the book, and they were sad to see them die. But
Yeah. So I mean, that was them hanging from the bow at the very end.
I think that was Obara and Nymeria. I can't tell who they have on the show or don't, but I think that's who that was at the end.
I thought it was
one. Yeah.
Ilaria was the one speared.
top.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I thought so
the
too at
coat
first.
thing.
It was
But I
so
don't know.
dark. I thought the battle was cool, but it was like it was hard to tell who. I mean, except the sand snakes, but everyone else was really hard to tell who was on each side. I guess it would just look like a whole bunch of dudes. Like if you were in that battle, I feel like you'd stab your buddy by accident, or
All Ironborn.
Yeah, I mean, it
look
was
the same.
Ironborn on
It's
Ironborn, and
controversial,
they
I
didn't
know.
seem to wear anything to differentiate themselves. you
Yeah.
know? You think we're gonna wear a giant bright yellow patch, so we all know that we're part of Euron's crew or something.
So, did
How does
Euron get cut by one of the sand snakes? Because I thought I saw that, and if
Yeah,
so, that's
multiple
not good
times.
for him.
Yeah, she cut his leg. I know for sure, and I thought, oh, that'll slow him down. It didn't.
Nope, he was in fucking beast mode.
Berserker rage.
Yeah.
So in the books, all the Ironborn ships are all like long ships that you row, right? Or are there sail ships as well?
They're long ships, I thought, and I think they captured some larger ships, but
Yeah, I think they're mostly just all long ships.
Yeah. So the show just didn't want to do that, I guess. It's still a cool ship.
yeah.
It does
I
look
do
like the
think
pirate
quick
thing
edit-
now.
Yeah, I do think quick edits worked for this battle because it does confuse you a lot, because it was a night fight on water, and it is incredibly off-putting.
I was also very confused about who was dead at the end. I even tweeted, it's like, is Yara dead? Is Ilaria dead? Is it just the sand snakes? What's up? And then I had apparently a bunch of people saw my tweet, and I got 10 different answers. So I don't really know what's going on.
You know who's alive?
I think
Theon.
yes, he is alive.
Yeah, but there are sharks in the water.
His little peace out was
no.
the most ridiculous fucking thing.
I actually thought it was normal, or not normal. I mean, I thought it felt right for his character.
him
He
being
just
a
finally
coward,
had too
yes.
much.
But he just was threw his sword and woo, swan that. I could have. I don't know. I was hoping more for him backing to the edge and then just being fuck it and jumping off with his sword. But he clearly was just he was so, I don't know. It was almost
"Bye,
gymnastic the way he jumped off. Right.
All Greyjoys have to take diving practice. It's part of their house.
I mean, he went
they
through
taught
so
me to
much
tumble.
shit.
Yeah.
He just.
Oh yeah.
He just needed to get away from the situation. He got overwhelmed emotionally, and he just was like, "Goodbye, I can't deal with this."
I mean, I don't want to see him tortured again, right? That's not cool.
I don't want
and
to see that.
and
Neither does
clearly,
Theon.
he was fighting. He killed several people in that battle. So
He's getting better.
He was getting better, but it's he's.
You can't.
Yeah,
cure
I don't
everything.
expect him to go head to head with Euron after he just saw Euron ripping out tongues and
Well, also, there's that one.
swim for it.
There's also that one part of the trailer where I think it's him on the water, and he's surrounded by a bunch of people as he collapses onto the beach. I don't know if that's him coming back or if that's something else with Euron, and I'm kind of concerned about it. But
that's Gendry picking him up and dropping him off on the shore.
If that is what fucking happens, holy shit.
I'm calling it now, people.
I kind of liked what happened with Theon, just because it makes sense. He had his shit together because Yara was okay and fighting, and as soon as he sees that Yara is not okay, the person that was helping him hold himself together and get better, as soon as he sees her in that situation and he knows he can't save her, and if he does anything, she's dead. If he's just no, fuck, no, I just can't do this, and jumps off, I think it worked really well, but I do get why people mock it. I just thought it makes sense for his character within the TV series to be so dependent on Yara, and her safety is linked to his mental well-being.
Yeah. I don't have a problem with him running away here. The problem I'm gonna have is it seems to show that next week Euron's just gonna sail right into King's Landing and present Yara as like a trophy to Cersei, and that doesn't make any sense.
Cersei don't care about that.
Yeah, and it kind of, in the what's happening next week part, it almost looked like Dawn, and everyone from Dawn was really super happy until I realized it was King's Landing, and it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, look at the map.
Of?
It doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that any number of ships could get by Dragonstone to King's Landing without being seen. Like, I'll buy that Euron had, like, taken his fleet, you know, south and, like, you know, down the coast before Dany gets to Dragonstone and, like, set an ambush. I buy that. But otherwise, he ambushes these ships like a mile from Dragonstone and then runs right back to King's Landing is the only other thing that makes sense. In which case, you know, you would think that word would get to Dany quick enough to, you know, grab a dragon and go roast him. I mean, I don't know.
There was some like serious like flaming cannonballs in that. I did. They don't have like cannons, right?
So. No, well, like last year we had the Siege of Marine, and when we talked about the trebuchets, whatever they had, the artillery, you know, raining down, you know, meteors and shit, and that's what immediately I was like, well, they've established that, so they're just going to use it here, aren't they? And it's like super accurate, completely like destroying these ships without much problem.
You wouldn't shoot the ship that, like, you know, your boss Euron's on. You know, once he's on it, don't like shoot it with a giant fireball.
Why not?
I mean, I guess if you don't like him, you want to just kind of nip him in the bud.
Yeah, it might be an awkward conversation after the battle, but like,
what is dead may never die.
Yeah, I mean, right? You know, he's cool. It's fine.
So what was that? Like a gangplank? Like he came down on, like, fucking bat out of hell?
So,
what was that?
there's a battering ram, like, if you can find like photos online, there's like a battering ram at the end of his ship, and it's got this, it's like a plank that it's made out of, like, I guess you just so he can ram into ships, and, you know, it's attached to his ship though. It's actually kind of cool.
Yeah, he just like, yeah, I was like, oh shit, well, that's interesting.
Yeah,
he just rode something down onto the fucking boat.
Yeah, isn't there something similar in siege weaponry when you're breaking through walls? Essentially like a tower of men, and then you break through part of a wall, and then you just pile them all in through it?
Like a siege tower.
Yeah.
It reminded me of in like Pirates of the Caribbean, the Davy Jones's ship, for just kind of the weird, because it's like gnarly, almost look like kind of teeth on the side.
Is his ship gonna go underwater?
Yeah.
Kind of sucks. So I guess everyone but Olenna Tyrell, as far as like her allies, was there. So what's she gonna do? I mean, is the Greyjoy fleet done?
Well, now Dany has a reason for Jon's alliance instead of having Jon bend the knee to her.
Yeah, as well as to use her dragons in the attack on King's Landing, which will result in one of their deaths.
Yeah, where were the dragons during all this? Like, when they be like, ooh, fire?
You'd send a dragon escort. Well, I mean, we're supposed to believe that it was too far away for them to notice what was going on, but close enough that he could get by them undetected. Like, you know, a lot of it doesn't make sense.
I wasn't really thinking about that too much. I was thinking like where are the dragons, but I was really just like enthralled with the battle, and I thought it was just shot so cool, and how they did all the quickness with it. It felt like half like a Pirates of the Caribbean scene, but also like some weird, like, you know, the Bourne Identity movies, like they just like cut to everything.
That is the style.
When the
cancer upon action films. But
ship was
but the reason why it's so intense is because they shot it 10 seconds at a time. So like everything is like cut from a different angle, and like they never had like action going for very long. So they had people just like going crazy for like 10 seconds at a time. So that's why there's just stuff everywhere you look all the time.
I'm really glad there was no grappling hooks.
Yeah.
They did call back some Euron book stuff with the cutting of the tongues.
Yeah, the silent. Well, I mean, didn't he mention? Was it last episode or no? It was last season when they talk about how like he cut out all the tongues of the people on his boat.
Yeah.
So that was brought up.
I think that's when he's like killing Balon or something. Balon brings it up.
I think it's at the King's Moot, maybe, or it's somewhere around there. I think it's all in the same episode there. But I do think so. Going back to that episode, actually, he's declared king, and then Yara and Theon run away. Well, they just
taking all their boats.
They take like he says they took the best of the boats, and so I'm watching it again before the season started. I'm like, well, maybe they didn't get all the ones that were out there, whatever. But you don't think, because a lot of the captains, the whole idea of the King's Moot was the captains are voting, but I guess the show didn't really do that. But you would think a lot of the captains maybe, like, she just probably showed up and was like, I'm the queen, we're sailing. So how many of them now are like, wait, Euron's attacking us? Like, how many do you think would switch sides at this point?
After that disaster, probably all of them.
Yeah, all of them.
Even with the dragons?
Well, hasn't Dany made it clear that she doesn't want to use the dragons?
Yeah, but none of them would know that. I mean, so at this point, we don't know where Ilaria is, right? I assume captured. Yara, I would say, is captured. Sand Snakes are dead. I mean, who would even be running this fleet? Like, would they still continue on to Dorne to try to bring back the Dornish army? I mean, who's going to tell the Dornish army to get on boats and head to King's Landing if Ilaria is not there anymore? Or maybe she is and she makes it to Dorne?
Well, no. I mean, if she's
she
alive in King's Landing, why wouldn't the Dornish army be like, well, fuck, she's alive and captured in King's Landing, let's go?
Oh, true.
I'm just not going to think about what the Dornish people like, because apparently a bastard woman who has no actual blood ties to the seat of Dorne killed off the Prince of Dorne and his heir. So I'm not even going to think about what the precedent is for that.
I feel like Dorne in the show must be one of those things where they go around showing pictures of the president, and people are like, who is that? Like they don't know who's running things, you know? Like they're just like, oh yeah, the person said it's time to go to war. I mean, whatever.
I bet we won't see Dorne much at all probably after this. You know, they're probably just because people didn't like it, and they're probably just kind of maybe we'll have like a few scenes.
So they're like, we had their ships, and that's really all we need. Is what you're thinking? Yeah, I could see that. I mean, because it seemed like last season they were like with the premiere and everything, you know, when they killed Prince Trystane or whatever, and I don't know, they were very quick to just be like, let's get rid of Dorne, and then we didn't see anything from Dorne until the last episode again when they were there with the ships. So this could be a similar thing where it's like they're done. Sorry, we screwed that up.
So then the whole alliance that they made at the end of the last season is now just worthless, essentially, because they don't seem to have any Dornish troops or like Tyrell troops.
Yeah, but how many Tyrell troops are we gonna get?
Yeah, how many forces does she have?
I mean, I guess we've seen Randall Tarley, and he could easily still decide to follow Olenna's orders.
I guess.
It's a very confusing situation right now.
Yeah.
I think it's all basically that they have to make it a somewhat of a fair fight between Cersei and Daenerys, otherwise it would just kind of be lame. If you know.
Yeah. So like I said with the scene earlier with Qyburn, where it's like, oh, we've got a ballista now, and hey, maybe we can kill these dragons, and yeah, like they'll roast the keep like very quickly before you could do that if that's what they wanted. But you've got to get the audience to think that there's a competition going on here. So, I mean, I guess it works. But she decimated like the Masters fleet Marine, like just with her and her 3 dragons, and really no help. So,
but they didn't have ballistas,
and they didn't have Euron.
That's true. He'll just smile at the dragons.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I do kind of like their Euron now because they've actually given him more screen time to develop a bit.
Yeah, I mean, last season he was garbage.
Yeah, last season he did do shit. He just kind of showed up. But now that he's actually been put in there,
and he was like, "There'll be 1,000 ships in a day."
Yeah, but I kind of like him now. Well, I don't like him. I enjoy him as a villain now because we don't really have like the clever, like kind of almost sort of funny villain with like his quips and stuff. But he's also pretty dangerous. I don't know.
Well, I have a feeling that next episode he's going to become like the real bad guy when they like show him whatever he's going to do with Yara and Ilaria. She's still alive, or
he kills
I'm just
Cersei.
thinking about like, I'm just thinking about like the Forsaken chapter from the spoilers.
Oh yeah.
And just like some kind of hellscape below.
I do feel though like this is a very different Euron.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I think the actor has said like he's read the book and he's been trying to put kind of the book Euron into it as much as possible, but he's like last season he was more restrained in that. So, yeah, he's like trying to give that craziness, and like last season it didn't come off so much.
Right, he doesn't have enough to do. Yeah, no, he's doing his best with the material he's given. So yeah, I do appreciate his effort that he's throwing into the character.
Yeah. So where do we think things are going next week?
We're gonna get John and Danny meeting up.
Finally.
Probably gonna have a marriage proposal.
And have lots of babies right away.
Yeah, and then we'll get prisoner Yara, or something bad's gonna happen to her with Euron.
Who is more excited for a Jon and Tyrion reunion than Jon meeting Dany?
Me.
Yeah.
I don't know, because I already know how they interact, and I'm very curious to see how Jon and Dany interact. So I'm kind of more excited just to see this new interaction.
It's gonna be awkward tea again.
This ice meeting fire type deal.
I feel like they're probably gonna make it a little silly, maybe, but I hope they don't.
I think Dany's gonna be fronting like hardcore. She's gonna be like kiss the rings and everything.
What do you think Davos is gonna do to Melisandre?
Ooh.
Stare daggers. That's about it.
Didn't he say like the next time I see you, I'll kill you? Or something?
I said, if we see you in the north again, you're dead. And so she's gonna be like, not in the north.
Technicality.
I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you.
We'll get to see Gendry pick up Theon.
Yeah. So, and one thing I will say, like, I mean, most of you guys probably haven't read like the stuff that leaked online a few months ago.
I don't want to know the stuff they leaked.
No, I'm not going to actually. I'm not going to actually mention it.
Spoil me.
But I will say, like, I perused it a little bit, and a lot of it was like, like stuff we kind of assumed would happen. But I think so far it's all been pretty accurate. So I am kind of interested in where that came from. So, and it wasn't the whole season or anything. I think it was just the first few episodes. But I am kind of interested as to. Because the show is so guarded. I mean, like they black out the scripts for the actors if it, if it isn't something they need to know, right? So.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, like if you're in a scene and like you deliver your lines, like you may not even get to know what the lines are that you're reacting to, or like what the stage direction is for someone else, or.
So, do you think we'll get a big battle next episode, or will we get like a big battle almost every other episode or something?
I feel like they can't really do a battle next episode because there's so many like prisoner taking, and then Jon and Dany have to spend some time doing stuff. All right. On that note, I think we've reached the end.
Only half an hour.
Only half an hour. You'll see when it's edited. So yeah, thanks everybody for hanging out with us, and we look forward to next week. Yeah, next week something happens and like there's a Stark reunion or something. I don't know. We'll see you
talk
then.
about-
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Yeah, so in the animal kingdom, that's called GG rubbing.
What?
Just FYI.
What the fuck is that?
Varley, what?
Really?
Hey, other Matt, what do you think of what this Matt said?
Oh God, please don't bring me into this.
Hmm.
Do you guys think Bran will show up at Winterfell next episode?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
didn't get to see him. This
Yeah,
I think we'll see him hopefully at Winterfell.
And he'll
Hopefully
just
get his
arrive?
Professor X chair. It's gonna
And
be
just-
like all the Starks together, and like you'll note that like the snow is gone.
Bran
Right.
wheels in, hands folded. I've been waiting for you.
To me, my Starks. Yeah, like he's gonna show up, and then Arya's gonna show up, and it's gonna be amazing.
But John's not gonna be there because he'll play.
Yeah. So Bran's gonna get there and be like, I know the true king. It's John. Everyone's like, ah, shit, he just left.
Yeah, I do think it would be great if he shows up and go, oh hey, where's John? Like he's Jaehaerys Targaryen, which I hope that's not his name because it's a terrible name. But like John Targaryen would be fine, and it's gonna be this big thing because all the people in the north are like, you can't trust fucking Targaryens.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, oh, your king's won. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's essential, I guess, that him and Dany have this meeting without him being like, by the way, we're related, and you know, yeah. Because then they come at each other from where they're at. Like she doesn't really know about the Army of the Dead. Like Melisandre just kind of came and is telling her about that, and he doesn't really know about his heritage. So I think you're going to get this interaction, and then later on, you know, there's going to be more information, and then the dynamic will change. So
Is only a king can legitimize a bastard, right? So if John is still technically a bastard, but he's already a king, can he legitimize himself? You know, like can the president
he's his
pardon
own
themselves?
grandfather.
Yeah.
You know what? That's actually a really good question. Because a lot of people assume that, well, you know, the Targaryens would have multiple wives sometimes, and he must have just married Lyanna, but we haven't seen anything that indicates that as far as legitimacy, and I don't know how important that is or not to people in the world. He could just say, yeah, I'm legitimate, whatever. But as a king, I guess he's not a king of...
Well, as a king, he already holds the power.
Right.
What does it matter if he's...
I mean, I feel like
realm.
that's a move that a king would definitely make. Like, by the way, I'm actually the son of the neighboring kingdom, and I legitimize myself and claim rights of the kingdom. Like, that's
Would
like
Emo John
a
do
cool
that?
way to that's a cool way to, I guess, to expand your territory.
Would Emo John want to do that, or he'd be like, ugh, to rule
He'd be
more
like,
stuff?
I never wanted the Iron Throne. It was thrust upon me.
Jesus Christ.
I think by becoming monarch, your illegitimacy is erased. Like William the Conqueror, before being William the Conqueror, was known as
He's
William,
William
the
the Bastard.
Yeah, or Gilliam the Bastard. But anyway, yeah, it
Right.
was by becoming a monarch, your illegitimacy is erased. But there was a couple of Henrys, like the early Henrys in English monarchs, where they had to address illegitimacy claims, which was just generally by shutting people down.
Yeah. Henry the Sixth or Henry the Seventh, whoever married Elizabeth Woodville, was said to be a bastard.
The
Yeah.
seventh,
Hey,
I think.
Hey, Bing, what do you think?
Sorry, muted. Bastards and kings. I don't think it matters at this point, does it?
I
don't
mean,
think-
like, does it matter that he's a Targaryen other than, like, maybe, like, riding dragons or the prophecy or anything? Like, for, like, who has claim and shit. Like that's why I thought maybe we wouldn't really know until Bran got that.
I mean,
got the revelation. So
at this point, it's who has dragons and who, right? That's more important than any claims and such. Cersei doesn't have a claim to the throne.
Yeah,
she's sitting on it.
Claims ain't shit anymore.
No, she doesn't
guys.
have a
You're
claim.
putting too
She
many.
doesn't have a claim. She has the throne itself. So that's kind of
That's
possession is 9/10 of the law.
That's basically it. And what claim did the Sand Snakes, what's her, Elara Sand have? She doesn't even have a last name.
Yeah, this is why I keep saying like
she just
claims
she
don't
owns
matter
the
in
city
show.
of Dorne. That's all.
Claims don't
Essentially.
mean shit anymore.
Claims
But I do
ended
think
once Joffrey kind of got there.
I do think that the blood relation, to Dany will matter, at least to the two of them.
Well, to the two of them, yeah.
Yeah.
And I think riding dragons, that probably matters if that's the thing.
The dragon must have 3 heads. And this is where they introduce Aegon.
Oh God.
Yeah.
That could have been Jorah's mission. He comes back. I found the key for Grayscale and another Targaryen. But they dropped the ball.
Wasn't he supposed to have his head immediately chopped off when he re-entered Westeros?
Well, they didn't know who he was until that moment. And I don't think in the North they do or whatever. But I don't think at the Citadel they're like, oh yeah, you're illegal. You shouldn't be here.
Hmm.
And at this point, I mean, I don't know, with all the different Mormonts and everything that's been going on, he probably could have just come home at any point, as long as he wasn't trying to go up to Bear Island and claim.
Oh man, Lyanna would have no.
Yeah,
none of
Lyanna.
that.
Oh, kill my
She would
uncle.
have beheaded him herself, like the massive sword.
She who passes the sentence must wield the sword.
Give me a little help, please.
Just hold him there, and I'll use gravity.
Are only high folk given the opportunity to kill themselves? Like, we'll give you another day, look at your sword, kind of thing. But, you're poor? No, we're just gonna,
I think so, because
straight
he's a
out.
knight, and he's supposed to be noble, and, he's not going to run away and spread the grayscale everywhere.
No, he's just been running all over the kingdom spreading it.
You never know what a dirty commoner would do, though.
They'll just walk up to you and be
Everything.
like, grayscale in your face. Oh no. I do think the whole situation doesn't really, we miss some things, like I said, with Sam and with Jorah. He showed up and clearly got locked in this room somehow. What is this room? It seemed like it was like a quarantine or a holding cell, or is it just like a room where you sit while you're waiting to see the doctor? It's like the worst waiting room. He's been waiting for months. Yeah, I don't know. It's weird that they're just realizing, oh, you have really bad grayscale and you need to I'm sending you to Valyria. Why wouldn't they have done that when he first got there?
All good questions.
You guys ever seen the Braun music videos? That's some good stuff.
Oh, from what? It was actually in a boy band?
Yeah.
You know, the actor who plays Braun is like a musician, or was a musician from the 90s.
What?
Yeah.
Jeremy Flynn.
Yeah, he was in an Irish boy band or something.
Yeah.
It was him and another dude.
What was it? What was it called? 4-leaf clover or something?
Yes. It was
I
called.
don't know, man.
So stereotypical.
Bias
It was
against
the
Irish
90s
is still
and you said
alive
they
here
were
in America.
Irish.
Robson and Jerome.
It was called All the Whiskey.
I thought you meant that there was some sort of Braun music videos about Braun shippers or something.
I'm sure there's that too.
There probably is. There probably is.
He wasn't in Westlife, which is the Irish boy band of the 90s.
I ship Braunron, which is Braun and Braun together with an alternate version of himself.
Oh. And
I got upset at Qyburn just using the old skulls. I mean, come on, man, that's history. Don't destroy it just to prove a point. Aim it at
Do you
the
know how long
wall,
it took
at
them
the
to build
wall.
those skulls?
It belongs in a museum.
Exactly.
I don't know. What do you make of that?
Who, me?
Just everybody.
everyone.
Oh.
We're all muted.
Oh, that's all right. I'm a conversation killer. I get it. That's
No.
that's cool. I can live with this.